So my name is Tony Armour. I am the Dallas Film Commissioner, and we have Andrew Vela with the Dallas Film Commission in the back as well, so thank you for coming out.
Hey everyone, I'm Ryan Pauly, writer and director of one of the films playing here tonight. I bet you're wondering how I got here. Thank you for being here. I'm going to pass the mic to this guy now.
Yeah, same. Thank you for coming.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Matt. I wrote and directed one of them, and then I co-wrote the other one with Ryan.
Which one?
Stalled?
Stalled. I'm Grant Wakefield, executive producer for Bonus Features and producer for I Bet You're Wondering.
Great. So we're gonna show both of the short films, and then we're gonna hop on stage and do a little Q&A and talk about how to make your short film feel big. So everybody enjoy the films, and we'll see you afterwards.
Let's hear it for the cast and crew of these films.
Absolutely.
A lot of which are here in the audience. They're amazing. Shout out Jacob Daniels,
Yes.
featured in both films.
Those are great. Everybody
Thanks.
like those, I'm assuming? Yes? And not just because you all either worked on them or were in them? Did everybody in the room work on these films, or we have some other people here too? Okay, good. Well, awesome job, guys.
Thanks.
I guess let's just jump right in. Let's start talking about the first one we saw first. Just tell us a little bit about how that came about. I really love the throwback 80s Back to the Future time travel paradox idea. How did you come up with that? I mean, obviously you're a big fan of those types of films, so just how did it all come around?
Yeah, big fan of time travel movies. I think I was just looking for something that could be super simple. I didn't have a lot of money, and I was just
That didn't look super simple.
It ended up being less simple, but I was like, what's something?
It's the kind of project where you're like, I just wanted to take it back to basics.
Let's just get it back to
and do
basics.
something simple, and then you immediately regret it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the most complex thing I can do in one room?
Yeah. So I was like, one or two actors in a room, keep it simple, and then, but wanting it to be interesting too. And that happened to me in the stall one time. A guy came in and knocked on the door, and I was like, I'm in here, and he just stood outside, like right in front of the door. I was like, this is creepy, and I don't know. And then I just kept thinking about it, and it happened. But yeah, and then I thought it'd be fun to just take like time travel tropes that we all know really well, but just compress them into like a ridiculously short time frame, where things just start happening very quickly, and yeah.
And so obviously, it's a simple, like you said, it started out as a simple idea. Let's just shoot in a bathroom, and I got one actor, but it ended up being much more complicated than that. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like shooting that, and obviously shooting? So I'm assuming you had a second actor of similar height and build that you could do for some of the shots, and obviously you had to do that. Talk a little bit about what the process of shooting that, and then obviously duplicating the actor in whatever editing software, special effects stuff you were doing to create that.
Yeah, so the script was like a horrible thing to read because everything is Pete coming in and out of a stall. It's like Pete enters stall and Pete exits stall.
Well, you had unique names for
Yeah.
each Pete, though.
Yeah, okay, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I numbered them or something. But so Jacob read it. He was in a writer's group that we did, and he wanted to audition for it, and I was like, I think I want to get a real actor, and
And then he punched you in the face.
Yeah. And he was like, well, I want to work with a real director, so maybe we both can compromise. But no, he auditioned and he did incredible. And I was like, holy cow. So cast him, and then luckily I have got another friend that's like the same. Luckily, I didn't know how we were going to do anything when we started trying to do it. And then in terms of the, but yeah, just had another friend that just happened to look a lot like Jacob from behind. So good. Look good from behind.
That's his new nickname, Jacob from Behind.
Yeah. I hate to see him leave, but I love to watch him walk away. And then for the special effects, Jordan Mathis, I hope I'm saying that right. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
How long did you work with him on this project, and you're not sure of his name?
Yeah, right. He's related to Jacob, and Jacob was like, well, my brother-in-law might be able to do some motion control. Because up to that time, I was like, we've seen like, I don't have the resources to do this.
The two-shot, just static two-shot.
Yeah, it's like it's going to be a lot of split screen stuff. I'm not a VFX guy. I did all the VFX for this, but I'm really not a VFX guy. I know a little bit about After Effects. But Jordan came on board, and we've got 3 motion control shots in it. And I was like, I feel like if we've got 3, like kind of how did they do that shots, then the rest we can just sort of fudge it. And we did. We just tried a few really simple things to sort of mix them. And then a lot of how we did it, too, was just setting up, like at the beginning, doing a lot of still static shots that we would replicate whenever there's 2 of them. So like a lot of the split screen shots you see them before when there's only 1 of them in the room, so it didn't feel like we were cheating, by just setting the camera on a tripod and doing a split screen. It felt like it was just part of the language of the short, So we tried to even do a lot of like hiding the split screen with the shots that were not split screen at all. And and then just a mix of body double stuff and just trying to be really intentional and yeah.
Did you have a script supervisor on this?
No, Jacob was kind of our script supervisor. He did an incredible job. He I was totally unprepared for this, and Jacob he was like trying to get stills and frames, and we'd like be ready for a shot, and he's like, well, wait, I ripped the poster off the wall, so shouldn't it be off the wall? And I'm like, sure. Yeah, if you think so, then yeah.
Yeah. So normally when you're shooting something, if you're going to shoot, you shoot out of order because you're in different locations, different times, everything like that. Since you were in one location for the entire shoot, and this was a weird time paradox thing, did you somehow or sort of shoot in linear order, or you still jumped around?
No, the whole thing was out of order. Yeah.
I was going to say too, before you jump into that, Matt is also very, very self-deprecating. And
He's being modest.
And yes, because he had a binder with like, amazing storyboards and the whole thing, shot listed, scheduled. He was ready, but it was very complicated.
We did, yeah. We had to storyboard it. There's no way. I mean, we had very specific storyboards, and then we shot those boards. But like some boards would have, because the other thing was like makeup. So he's in makeup in this and not in makeup in this, and so we would. And you can't really reset like a split screen shot, so you have to get all that together. So it was sort of a scheduling, even though there was only 1 actor, it was still sort of a scheduling problem just to figure out how to shoot it all within the time that we had, and so.
How much time did you have? Was this a 1-day shoot?
No, it ended up being 4 days, so we 2 weekends. Which kind of was a blessing. We had our DP got COVID, and so
a blessing.
It is a huge blessing. Kyle, rest in peace. Thank you for what? Too dark. Sorry. He's alive and he's awesome.
Is Kyle here?
Is he here? No. He's got better things to do tonight. But we were going to try to do 3 days, and he got COVID, so we ended up having to reschedule over a 3-day weekend. And we ended up having to reschedule to 2 weekends, which like really saved us because we needed the 4th day that we couldn't have done in 3 days.
Now, where did you find this abandoned bathroom somewhere that you could use for?
The University of North Texas let us shoot it there. It was awesome. They were super nice. We looked all over, and nobody ever wants to let you film anything on anything that they have. And Lena, who's also here, was our producer. And she found the location, and they were super cool. They let us just do whatever. And yeah, it was great.
Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about the second film as well. Fun, you guys. Obviously, everything you make is fun.
Yeah. What was the question?
There was no question. I just said it was fun. That was it. And I was going to let you riff off of that.
Oh yes, it was a lot of fun. Hopefully that shows on screen. But yeah, we just had a amazing crew and cast, and yeah, the whole. The goal for this short is really just to entertain and give people a fun time. It's the kind of movie that we really love to watch and make. I basically said nothing with that.
So you literally just landed a couple hours ago because you were just in LA showing this short at Holly Shorts at the Chinese Theater, correct?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really fun. Yeah, me, Grant, and Matt all went down, met Gunnar, who plays Harry, the big guy that was getting lots of laughs, which I love. But yeah, we all screened the film there. It was really great. we don't often do the film festival thing, but we're making the attempt with this one, so we'll see.
Well, it's definitely film festival worthy, so it's a lot of fun. And that was obviously all shot in Dallas and shot at Southside Studios, correct? Which, if anyone hasn't heard the announcement yet, Southside has been sold and is going to be renovated into a new multi-million-dollar soundstage facility. So we're really excited about that.
Love that.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad that we were able to shoot this before all the renovations, because obviously part of what sold us on Southside was when we first walked into, we didn't shoot in the actual studio side, we shot in their mill shop, and so that first time we scouted, we had seen a couple of pictures, but they were older pictures and not really the full thing, so the first time we walked in, it's like we just walked in this huge space and immediately we're like, yeah, this is it. I mean, we don't have to do anything in here.
Yeah, it's great look just from being what it is. But there's no air conditioning on that side. So
Right.
When did you shoot it?
We shot in December.
Okay, you're good.
So usually chillier, even though it's Texas and sometimes it can still be warm. But no, thankfully we had a great weather, and it was nice and cool in there.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about just kind of putting that together with, getting your actors, and obviously at a great location, fun vehicles with the bug and then the vans and everything. Just sort of assembling that. This is supposed to be how to make your short film feel big, and you guys
Totally.
did a good job of making it feel big. So talk a little bit about just some of the things that you did to make it more expansive. I'm assuming it wasn't a huge budget or anything that you spent.
It was good. It was pretty good for us, but it was also due to amazing crew. Like, we had so many crew come out as volunteers, which was incredible for 3 days on a film like this. So, like, everything is due to cast and crew volunteering their time and letting us put that budget into the look of the film. Just because, I think you could tell on screen. But yeah, it kind of started with, I really like physical gifts and things. So I kind of sent all our production heads, our department heads, letters in the style of like a 70s police form, inviting them to be a part of the project, because I knew if we had all my favorite people on this, we can at least make something, even if it was just us. And then getting the cast assembled, people like Julio Cedillo, who I'll shout out to, who's here. We've been wanting to work together for a while, and so that was one of the first pieces. People like Jacob and Gunnar, who from the start I've envisioned for those characters. And then it was just finding people like Andre Shanks, who played Kingan, the police LAPD officer, and then Eden, who played Sophie. They were amazing. But just finding that ensemble cast with, they just had amazing chemistry. So that was such a big piece for me.
And these all Dallas-based cast?
No. So like Julio, Jacob, Gunnar, or Julio, Jacob, and Tiffany. Who am I missing someone?
No, they were all local.
Yeah. And then we had Richard Porter, Key Grip, who is cameoing in this as the henchman. And then, the rest of them we flew in.
Okay, because Gunnar I recognized from, I had a film at my festival in Florida called Electric Jesus.
Okay, nice.
And I believe Gunnar was in Electric Jesus a few years ago. Yeah, that's I'm like,
he's East Coast.
Where do I know that guy from?
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
East
So
Coast.
I was like, does he live in Dallas? I didn't think he did, but that makes sense.
He's just a good friend, and I couldn't see anybody else play that part.
Yeah, no, he was great.
He was great for that part.
Yeah. So and then once we get the cast and crew, we found our location, and that was just usually on something like this that takes place almost in one location. Like, once you find the bathroom, it's like, we can make this. I don't know how good it'll be, but we can make it. So that's how it was when we found the studio. I can let him talk about. You asked about the cars. Those were we found them days before we shot.
Yeah, so where did you find all of the vans? Because those aren't, those are retro vans. Is there one particular place where you rented them from, or?
So spoiler alert on the vans. It's one van. And all the cars, so another producer, Lindsay Detweiler, she worked on all the cars and sourcing the cars. And so we did Facebook groups and Craigslist, everything like that. So we found all the cars for the beginning scene. We found those fairly easily through like a Facebook group. But the biggest thing was trying to find a period accurate, in good condition, white cargo van. So we had looked Facebook and everywhere trying to find one, and we just could not find anything close. And I finally found one. A guy had one out in Forney. I messaged him, told him about the project. He was like, "Oh yeah, that sounds awesome." Told him, it's like, "Yeah, we would need it here at this location." He's like, "Oh well, the insurance is expired on it because I've had this thing for years and I don't drive it anymore, so I can't really like drive it over there." So I was like, feeling so close. And then about 3 days before the shoot, we were on a tech scout at Southside, and we're standing there out on the dock talking after we've kind of walked through everything. And basically on Botham Jean there in front of Southside, this guy comes driving up in a 79 van and pulls up to like the security gate. And I was like out, like surreal moment, like looking out, and I was like, that's our van. And then he turns into Southside and proceeds to pull down the driveway past us. And I'm like, that's our van.
He got out, he just tossed Grant the keys.
Yeah, I wish. No, but so he pulled into where kind of the prop shop is at Southside. So I beelined straight up to him and said, "Hey, this kind of sounds crazy, but I'm producing this short film that takes place in the 70s, and we need a white van, a cargo van from that era." And he just turns around and like does this to his van. And I was like, can we, rent it from you? And he's like, "Oh yeah, my wife's a production designer here in Dallas, so we rent it out all the time." And it's just little things like that just
Also,
at the
Grant,
last minute came together.
We were like standing, 50 yards away and looking at Grant after he talked to this person. He did like the Breakfast Club thing. He didn't actually do that, but it was basically that.
It was, out of all the things, it was like the thing I was stressing about the most, because most of the other stuff had come together fairly easily. But I knew like, okay, that gag for the short was so important, and we knew like it was such a specific thing, so we wanted to have, we knew like, okay, in the end we could probably get like an Econo line from the 90s, but I knew like, okay, I really want to find something from that era to really continue to make that
I have a question.
feel.
Why was he at Southside in the first place with that van? Like, what was he doing that he pulled in? Because there's nothing happening there right now. So.
Well, he was delivering some furniture that they had rented, like there at the prop shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, that's why I was like so stressed about that. And so when all that happened, I was just so excited and felt like, oh man, it's all coming together.
The graphics on the van, was that done in post-production? Was that all post?
Yeah. And Ryan did all
yeah.
that.
Awesome. Well, let's go back to talking a little bit about the first short again. I guess we could see if the audience has questions too. I suppose we're just up here having a conversation for the time being. But does anybody in the audience want to have some questions? We have a microphone set up right here. If anybody wants to ask, they're all like, "We worked on it. We don't have any questions."
Stalt's actually great too, because it was a tiny crew.
Yeah.
Like hopefully it looks like there's tons of people working on this, but it was just a very small, dedicated crew of people, and Matt tearing his hair out.
Yeah, I mean, everybody is great. Everybody just donated time. It was a tiny budget, and a lot of generous people that donated time and equipment to make it happen. And then just when they could, at times it was just like the DP and me and Jacob in the bathroom.
Yeah, because it's not that big. I was going to say you can't fit that many people in there. So.
Right. Yeah. Everybody had to clear out, and so yeah. I mean, it was.
How did you light the bathroom in a space that small?
So Scott Payne, who's a legend around here, I don't know if he's here tonight, but he lent us.
There he
Yes,
is.
Scott Payne.
Yes, he's one of our very generous crew members. He came out. I don't know anything about the lights that you set up, Scott. I'm sorry, but he rigged out the fluorescents I don't even want to talk about it.
I saw in like in a
But-
shot or two, I could see like fluorescence like on the wall above the stalls. There were a couple like
They took
a
out all
few
the bulbs and he replaced
Yeah.
them with voodoo lights that could do whatever he wanted, and and he did all that, and so Kyle, our DP, was able to just. It was the only reason too that we could make our schedule because half the time instead of moving lights around, he could just kill those lights over there, turn those lights off over there, and obviously we knew we wanted the flicker effect. We wanted. Because we weren't, the whole thing is like, how do you make the bathroom feel sinister by the end, and so we knew we wanted to sort of have the lights sort of progressively flicker, but it was just the added benefit of us being able to move very quickly and sort of have some negative or whatever just by turning off lights. So it ended up working out really well.
Is there any backstory to why this bathroom has the time loop paradox, or did the janitor, is he secretly God? And
These are like all the YouTube comments as well.
Oh, is
it's
it?
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those ambiguous things that makes it really deep. And I do like when things are just sort of unexplained, and just the idea that like the universe is sort of punishing him. And
it's better not to have an answer for that because it'd be weird.
Yeah.
It almost makes it weirder if there was an answer for that.
well, and I feel like for a short film too, it's like your priorities are different. If it had been like a feature, you would want to understand what's happening. But I feel like for a short, you really just want to get in and get out and know what the thing is about, but not get in the weeds of like nobody cares about like the mythology of what's happening. So so that was intentional.
It's funny. I was thinking about the title of the event, making your short film feel big, and watching a ton of shorts at this festival yesterday. I feel like my biggest piece of advice is make your short films short, because it will feel. Even these are like it was like 15 and 17 minutes or something, which
Too
is
long. They're too
which is long.
No.
For us, it's like, but watching films where it's like, hey, get in, get out, tell a really compelling story with great characters, and don't overstay your welcome, and it will feel like a really good short film.
As someone who's run a film festival for going on 19 years now, yes, make them short. Because your screening team that is watching your short film, when they're going through and they're scrolling through Film Freeway and you have your assigned films that you give people to watch, and they see a short film that's 25 minutes long, it's like, no, please. No one wants to sit there and watch those, because they're just so long when you have 700, 1,000 films to watch. And then if you have a bunch of 25-minute shorts, and then you've got 8-minute shorts, like everybody wants to watch the 8-minute shorts. Nobody wants to watch the 25-minute shorts. And so and good or bad, it negatively puts the viewer in a bad frame of mind when they're going into watching a short before they even watch it. So it may not get rated as well as it could if it's shorter. It's just a weird psychological thing for film festival programming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
I feel like especially with a short film too, just pacing is something that everyone is so aware of. Like even an 8-minute short, if you've watched it for a minute and you can tell it's wasting your time, it's just like you start to get anxious and distrust it. So like short films, you've already got so much working against you because you're, somebody's just sitting and watching. Anybody that's asked a friend to watch their short film understands, they're not watching your short film. There's already so much against you. It's like to me, the main thing, even making it feel big, to me is just making it feel good as a short film. It's like pacing is something that everybody can pick up on. And it's like, especially within the first few minutes, just being really conscientious of your pacing and making it feel like you're giving the audience their time's worth, is like, even just the short films we watched, yesterday, a lot of them were really well done production-wise, but it's like, again, just that sort of intangible thing of pacing just feels off, and it just feels a little bit, and that to me is like a big one with short films.
Yeah, no, I think you're definitely right on that, and I love the fact that you guys just jump right in, just jump in and start. Like there's no long build up. You don't have like a minute and a half of After Effects opening credits that are unnecessary for a short film. You just boom, you get in and you start.
Yeah, we put those at the end. The unnecessary long credits. But yeah, and I think also I'll brag on Stalled and Matty Black.
Please do. Be specific.
But just having a very strong vision and a really good hook for your short film, like a log line that makes people want to watch it, I think helps in that sort of making it feel big, is just having a really strong hook and then telling the story as simply as the concept is simple and stalled is very funny in the same sentence. Just telling it really simply with a really strong vision and keep it short.
And story too. Like, I mean, with Stalled, it's like the point of it was for it to be kind of confusing. Like, that's supposed to be the charm of it, is that you sort of start to lose track of what's going on. But also wanting just for the character journey to be like, you're never really lost on the character journey. You know what I mean? Even if you're a little bit lost. I feel like I bet you're wondering how I got here, it's the same way. It's like establishing on really early that, like, the group dynamic, and then Keegan sort of focusing them up after they crash, and sort of the whole short being about teamwork, and these group of people that have sort of been working against each other secretly, like, have to actually work together. So I think too, just, clear story focus, those things. And with shorts too, I feel like, it's not, there's probably somebody out there that can just be like Tarkovsky in a short film and it works great. But it just feels like with shorts, again, you have to work harder to be like, no, this is actually a story that I'm telling you. So hitting those beats very clearly, like, I think we were a little louder in some things with character arcs than we necessarily would have been if we were writing something like a feature. But again, it's like you're just trying to punch those things hard and fast and move on, and there's a balance, because you don't want
even
it to be...
in I Bet You Wonder How I Got Here, it's every character has a little setup and payoff in the short. Some are bigger than others, but even, just a little thing, it gives a little bit of satisfaction where it's like the story is finished in 15 minutes. We got a beginning, middle, end.
Well, and I think that's important to note that even though these are short films, you still very much stuck with, almost Save the Cat story structure, right? It's compressed into 3-act structure with each character hitting the beats and having their moments, and then finishing off where you need to, and actually having little arcs and everything for them. So to actually do that in a short can be really difficult, because some people can't quite figure out how to write it. They write maybe a scene, what would be a scene in a feature, but they don't write a complete story in and of itself with a beginning, middle, and an end. And so I think that's where you guys really, succeeded really well in this, is because they do have a full arc for the characters within the short film, basically, with that full 3-act story structure as well. And that makes it, and so making your short film feel big, people, I think, recognize that, because even subconsciously, if you can't literally go out at page 10, you need inciting incident. If you're not one of those screenplay people that knows all that kind of stuff, but everyone has watched a million films over their lifetime, when they see something, they know how it feels. And so they know how a feature film feels with all of those arcs, and to be able to basically take that and put it into a short makes it feel bigger. Does that make sense? Anything I just rambled out? Yeah?
Totally.
Okay, good. Any response to that?
Producer?
I think because, again, going back to the idea was short films and having such a compressed time, it's really thinking through, like, how do I elicit kind of emotion and response really quickly. And so I think even thinking through, like, Stalled, you very clearly at the beginning get this character, right? There's not a lot of, you're watching it thinking like, oh, who's this guy? Like, very quickly, everyone knows, like, okay, I know this kind of guy. And then, for I Bet You're Wondering is the same type of thing. Hopefully very quickly, you're already seeing the archetypes of the characters, and you're already, hopefully, eliciting some kind of emotion, even if it's from the opening shot and the craziness of all of them running out and, Gunner or Harry screaming and things like that. So it's trying to quickly, draw that audience in and, kind of hook them in too. I think that's another key thing to be mindful of, especially in a short film where it's like, again, limited time. So how can I elicit that response from somebody really quick to keep them a little more engaged and then keep drawing them in?
What other advice would you guys give for a filmmaker in the audience who wants to make a fun, impactful short film?
Yeah, I would just say, like, to me, like, how to make a short film feels big is just like, how does it, how do you make not having any money look like having money? And I would say, like, one thing that I think you have, as and short films are usually passion projects too, so there's not like a deadline. But I think one thing that you do have that a lot of bigger budgets, productions don't have is time to write and to develop and to come up with something unique and interesting. And like, I think I think we've all done like practice short films where it's like, I'm just sort of intrigued by this thing and I just want to practice like a conversation, like shooting it. But then, I think one of the best ways you can make just a short film feel better, I think sometimes people just rush into making something because like they've written something that makes sense. But especially if you have people, and I know Dallas is more and more, it feels like just such a awesome community for filmmakers. And so if you're writing something, it's like, I would just say like, take the time and have other people take a look at it and make sure it's just like as polished as it could be. And because you have time to just sort of think through it, you know what I mean? And that will go, I feel like, so much further for a short film, like something that's well thought out and shot with a few people in a backyard, as opposed to like something that you just threw money at, like a terrible script, For a short, if something is well thought out, I feel like it'll go way further.
Totally. And I'd say too, when we started out, we were making films like for fun with our friends, and I think this probably is not an answer to the question, but try not to lose that sense of play and collaborating and making movies with your friends, because I feel it, and it is sort of my personal sort of MO and how I want to make movies, but I think having that and making it collaborative with your crew and with your cast, this guy, is just going to help the project. And the more ideas you hear and choosing the best idea for the story, it's going to make it feel better and bigger than just your own ideas, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'll say too, so the thing with short films too, and we always talk about budget, little, big, and it's all relative, right? And so I think whatever it is, it's always, you have to prioritize, okay, what am I going to, allocate to put on screen to make bigger, things like that. But a lot of times for all our short films, we are very specific about allocating. A lot of the budget goes to catering and crafty. So there's definitely more money we could have spent on some other things, but we're very intentional about spending it on those two items because, again, when budget is relative and you're asking people to come out and you're trying to attract talented people to work on your film, keeping them well-fed is a great incentive. And so I think that's just something to be mindful of when you're trying to build your team, again, whether you have $500 or you have $50,000 for your short film, it's easy to go, okay, we need the best lenses, we need all these things. But if you can do just the small things of taking care of your crew and treating people right, as you're, like Ryan said, trying to maintain that sense of like camaraderie and we're all making something together, all those crew people go the extra mile. And the reason these shorts are, if they're, if you enjoy them, is because of those crew people who have put in so much time and effort besides, us, that really helps elevate it and take it to the next level. So I would say just be mindful, again, with budget being relative, whatever it is, just keep your crew well fed.
Speaking of talented and well-fed, I think we have some questions from the audience.
Well, I am well-fed on your sets, Ryan. No, I've got a question for both shorts. What was the rehearsal time with Stalled, with the actor? I'm talking about acting because that's my field. And then in your second film, how much rehearsal time did you have? That's question number one. And number two, I don't do very many shorts because I find that filmmakers they're so in love with their visuals, they're in love with their lookbook, they're in love with this, which is great because you have to be in love with your project. You're about to invest a lot of time. But what I find on sets, and even And I'm not just talking short films. I find this happening on major motion pictures where they're setting up a crane shot and they take up half the fucking day, and then you walk on and you're ready to do it and they're rushing you through it. Sometimes there's missed opportunities, you know? And so I'm glad you actually answered the question I was going to ask about collaboration. How important is that for you? Because at the end of the day, when we're storytelling, it's about problem solving. My job as an actor is to bring to life what you have, but also to point out things that don't make sense, things that could be elevated. But sometimes when you're shooting, you're trying to shoot like a Hollywood production, but sometimes going back to the basics is more important, because what are you trying to say? So I guess back to the first question, how much rehearsal time did you have on both of those projects? And how important is also the acting part for you? Because you can have all the toys you want, but if you don't have that visceral aspect of performance, I mean, all the effort just goes out the window. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll go first. Julio, amazing. Give him a hand. Yeah, I mean, obviously, rehearsals for Matt and myself, I think rehearsals are huge. We very much care about the performance. That's probably the thing that people are leaving your film thinking about the most, I would say. For our film, we had one day where we were rehearsing basically the whole day with the whole cast, and then also Daniel Ruth, DP, is he here? Give him a hand. DP Daniel Ruth, and Scott Payne and Tony Thomas, our sort of genie and camera team, they were all prepping our sort of main area and lighting that while we were rehearsing that day. But yeah, I feel like rehearsals are just important because you write your script and then the rehearsals are sort of like the next chapter of writing your script, because your talent is going to bring their own sort of ideas to the character and embody them. And for us, there's a lot of amazing moments that are like some of the biggest laughs in the film that only came from finding those moments in the rehearsals. So it was huge for us, and especially just I mean, it's a 15-minute short, but these characters should feel like they've been, robbing banks and doing crimes for months. And so having that chemistry and really having time for when you're very short on time, like try to use as much time as you can to have your actors be around each other, if it makes sense. If they're like hero and villain and you don't want them to be together, I get that. But it was super important for us on this one. And I think that's all I got. But to your point, Julio, about like having half a day setting up a huge crane and then not having much time to actually get the performances. I got to just give a shout out again to Daniel, who, when we were prepping and sort of walking through the shot list, he knows what kind of movie we're trying to make and knows how important those performances are in something like this. So pushing for shooting on 2 cameras, which was a total blessing, and we're able to, knock out so much more takes and have more time for the performances was a huge thing as well. So.
I do have to add to that where the difference is if you don't have time, we still have, on our side of our department, which is the acting department, we actually have to deliver regardless.
Yeah, totally.
When you have a professional actor on set, a professional actor can compartmentalize and still deliver. That is the difference. So when you start casting your uncle, which is, you can still give a great performance because he's very natural. That's only because he's probably very extroverted. He's the character already, right? The reality is, when it comes time to, running a gun at it, and that's the difference, right? That's why using professional actors is extremely important, because they will save you money when it comes to setting up for something very complicated. So
Love that.
And we will be having a full discussion with Julio next week here at the Texas
Teaser.
Theater.
Teaser.
That's just a tease for next week on how to be a working actor in the business while living in Dallas, basically. So
Hey, shout out to uncles too. Go uncles.
Gotta have the
Matt,
uncles.
talk about rehearsal for Stall.
Yeah, Jacob was around when I was writing it. Like I said, we were in the same writers group, so he was very familiar with it. We spent some time just talking about it. I wasn't going to have him rehearse with himself because that would be weird for me. But no, we just had a lot of conversations. Yeah, I'm sure we would have gotten much closer though. Yeah, we just talked about everything. A lot of it was just figuring out, like, clarifying to him what the geography of a scene is, like what's happening and where he's at, because we did shoot it out of order. He had to jump all over the place.
blocking would have had to be really important for Stalled.
Yeah, and I mean, Jordan did some motion control tests, so we got to Jordan.
Can you describe for the audience, when you say motion control test, talk a little bit about what that entailed, like what you guys actually did for that?
Yeah, Jordan's gonna kill me because I'm gonna get it so wrong, but yeah, so basically it's a rig that just it'll simulate a camera movement over and over and over again. So you can just do the same camera movement. So for that sort of rotating shot, we did that we did it more than 7 times. But what you're seeing is 7 different takes of Jacob performing in the room, and then us just sort of stitching all that together. So we had to rehearse that. My first idea for that, we tried it. It just didn't look good. Or also sort of figuring out what works for the technology. Like I had Jacob just standing in place, and then realizing like, no, actually what sells the effect is him walking around the room. And in the first, our first attempt, it was like I was trying not to get reflections because I thought that would be too complicated, and then realized like, no, reflections are what makes the shot feel full. Like that's what's selling the effect. So because we were able to do those rehearsals, we sort of figured out what worked. And Jacob got to do a little bit of performance in those. Those were kind of like our rehearsals, but really it was just a lot of conversation and Jacob just doing the work and figuring it out. And like I said, we shot out of order, so he was, emotionally sort of having to be all over the place if it was like kind of a wackier thing or like a more serious thing. And yeah, he did exactly what he's somebody's uncle, but he still did exactly what Julio was talking about in terms of just being able to sort of turn it on.
It's awesome. All right, next question.
I got a 2-part question about the screenwriting process. And for the first scenario, have you ever had anything that was more like a feature-length script that you started trimming down and distilling into a short film length? And then on the second side, have you ever gone through and written out a short film with the idea and structure? If you get enough of a buzz behind it and you got lightning in a bottle, set up that short film so you could flesh it out into a feature.
Proof of concept for a feature.
Yes.
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 Yes and yes. Yeah, the I Bet You're Wondering How I Got Here short was a feature first that Matt and I wrote.
Well, it was
it was a
short
short first, and then a feature, and then a different short. But this was, I basically went to Matt after we wrote the feature, and I was like, dude, I don't know if we're going to be able to make this. Like, it's so ambitious. It's like a 70s heist epic. But I was like, I really want to make something from this. Would you be down to take a whack at a first draft? And the idea was basically instilling it wasn't taking a snippet from the feature and making it short. It was taking like the characters and specific moments and combining those into a unique, like original short that has the spirit of the feature. Just because it's really, like we talked about, it's just very important for us to make sure it doesn't feel like a part of a bigger thing, like a proof of concept for something. It is a proof of concept, but we want it to, if this is the only thing you see, like that should be satisfying on its own. So that's one side of that.
Yeah, we've also taken a short that we had we made a short called Monitor a few years ago, and it was just a little short, and we had fun with it, and we had no ambitions for it, and then we ended up fleshing that out into a feature, and that was sort of ended up being like a monstrous thing where, you just go through different versions because we got a little interest in the short to expand it into a feature, and so we sort of tried these different takes, and that was just sort of a grueling process of trial and error where, our first draft was just terrible, and then we try again and just figuring out what worked about the short. You know, in that case, it was a horror short, so it's like, okay, this is scary. It's got a clear concept, you know, hook, like Ryan was saying. And at that point, it was just coming up with a compelling way in, you know, like, what is this character? What, you know, why does this thing afflict them, and how can they sort of complement each other and make it more interesting? So different experiences, but yeah, just.
Great. Thank you. All right, next up. Oh, wait. Brady has a question, and she doesn't want to stand in line.
Yes. We are.
We are.
She asked and said that, are you from Dallas? You're not from Dallas. They're Denton, which is technically DFW market, right? Yes, but yes,
Yes.
Dallas, and they shot in Dallas. Same writers group. What writers group, and where are they? How do they all come together, and,
a
and
great
who
question.
are you people?
We're still trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, who are we?
Ryan and I started getting together with a few other friends, Mr. Ian Verdugo, who's here tonight, Mr. Jacob Daniels. We were just friends before, and we all had an interest in writing, and we just started. We were like, we should just get together, and it's a great accountability too, because nobody wants to read your scripts. You guys know. Nobody wants to read your
and
scripts.
so, but I will say, so you guys do have a production company in the area where you do a lot of work for commercials, and so you have an active production company. You're doing things. You're not insurance salesmen by day and short filmmakers by night, right?
Yeah. Sorry. So, do it for a day job for sure, but then in terms of the writers group, just friends that have a common interest in just getting together.
And you all went to film school as well.
No.
No.
I did go to film school. You know,
He went.
makes me a little cooler, makes me a little bit more legit. I have a lot less money because of it.
These
I guess
guys
we
are
did skip the
UNT
bio
guys.
part at the beginning. We didn't have everyone kind of give their bio, who they are and what they did, other than you guys made these movies. Hey, these guys made these movies. They're going to talk about it. So they are professionals in the industry, working in the industry, in the DFW market here.
To answer your question, though, yeah, like Matt said, it was just a group of friends who we all were friends, and everyone was kind of individually working on projects. And then it was like, oh, maybe we should just kind of meet on Friday mornings at a coffee shop and talk about scripts and share scripts and talk about ideas. And so we just, started doing that and talked about specific like ways we want to hear, because everyone has different ways they want feedback, right? So one writer really needs very direct, like, here's what didn't work, here's what I'm confused about. Other people go, hey, overall, so everyone was different. So we talked about that and kind of established some, guidelines there, and then just started meeting regularly.
How often does your writers group meet now? Just as needed?
Well, that was 5 years ago, and we were very
Well, it's-
disciplined, and it was
it's-
every Friday. And
Yeah,
now,
it's gotten bigger now. We've got several other friends that are here that are in it, and at once a week. I just had a baby, so I haven't been in like 4 months, but
That's a good
Shout out to
excuse.
the baby.
All right. Great.
Not-
And good job on you having the baby.
it was my pleasure.
From a man's perspective.
Bring us back on track.
Okay. Hey guys, how's it going? So my question is from someone who makes short films and is trying to get into the short film scene and just make films in general. When do you stop wearing multiple hats as a director? And when is it okay to trust somebody to wear that hat? Because I've been making short films for as long as I can remember, and I always somehow write myself into the crew. I'm always like, I'm going to be the editor, I'm going to be the director, I'm going to be the DP, I'm going to be the lighting guy, I'm going to be that background, I'm going to do the catering, I'm also going to drive everybody. When do you, I feel like it's almost like a passage of time, like, you're coming to it, you're actually finding yourself in the big leagues, like, okay, I can actually get somebody to move that light stand instead of me do everything myself. So when do you, like, how important is that for someone who's doing a short film? Like, do you guys still have that problem? Because I know you have different budgets here. I bet you're wondering how I got here is like, definitely saw the behind the scenes for that. It's big crew, lots of stuff, people you can trust, but then Stalled, I saw a little bit of the behind the scenes, so it's like one or two people. You said, maybe only one or two people at a time. You and the DP, like different takes on that. How many hats were you wearing, and did you feel like that brought down the production at all? That's a loaded question, but
Yeah,
hopefully you
so
understood.
in the case of
Good
Stall,
question.
yeah, great question. That was just a few times. There was a lot of people that were there that were at times that were super dedicated crew, and then sometimes they had to split, and there would just be a few of us. But yeah, I think you just have to wear a lot of hats. If you know, I think you can work your way up to where if you can find other people that are looking, like if you can find a DP that's looking for a good director to shoot something for, and you're a good director that's looking for a good DP, then it's like great, like hook up and make something. I think you're probably still going to wear a ton of hats if you don't have. I don't know that there's any way around that, but I did for Stall. I mean, but every one I've done. Elena wore a ton of hats for that too, and so what has been nice is every short that I've done, there's been more people to come along to wear multiple hats. Jacob wore multiple hats, so I think anytime you're making a short film, probably a lot of people are wearing multiple hats, and like Ryan said, it's the idea is that it's fun. You know what I mean? Like I feel like as a passion project, and he said that, but like you can't understate like when you're asking people to donate time. As much as you can, you want to make something that everybody can be proud of. That's going to go a long way. But also just wanting, for them to have some artistic input, for them to have some ownership over it is huge. And then, and you want that because that's only going to make it better, because you can't do everything. So I'm rambling now, but
You want to get a good group of people together that you like working with, that you enjoy working with, so that you don't have to wear every hat. You're going to wear multiple hats anyways, but work with your friends, work with people you enjoy working with, and then in return, you go work on their project. So if you are also a DP and you get somebody to DP your project, then you go DP their project, and it's a little quid pro quo, and you just have to, give back to each other.
Totally. Yeah, I was going to say, especially starting out, it seems like just depending on the scope of the project as well, like there's some stuff that it's just like a few of us shooting, and then others that's like a massive crew, and it is very much a thing where I think we've all like helped a friend, and then they've helped us, and then it's just like this chain of volunteering on each other's stuff, so that it'll help us not feel as stressed and not feel like we're doing everything. But there's also a little bit, I think, all directors have a little bit of that, like we have to sort of let go of having control and let other people bring their ideas and make it better. And I think that's a big thing too. Maturing specifically as a director is learning to let go of that and let other people bring their unique skills to your project. And because I think it's just going to make it better. And if that specific person wasn't like who you were looking for, like continue to work with more people and find your little group.
Great. Thank you. All right, we're going to do these 4 questions and wrap it up.
Hi, so my name's Tanner. I just wanted to follow up on that guy's question. When you guys collaborate with the crew, what's your threshold to say no to something that one of the crew members wants to like add in as like input or execute on the set? Like, what's your like threshold on that? And the second question would be, how do you storyboard your projects? And does it come after, before writing the script, or does it come after you find the locations that you scout for?
Good question.
When do you say no to somebody on set that is pitching ideas creatively, and where do you in what order do you kind of storyboard with your ideas?
The first question's a little difficult because there's a little bit of getting everyone on the same page of like, this is the movie we're making, really giving the vision for what the project is, and sort of, working with your DP or production designer or whoever is helping you out in your project, and sort of painting a picture of the kind of movie we're making. That way, when people are contributing ideas, we can kind of point back to like, does this sort of fit the style guide almost of like the movie? And sometimes there's just an idea that it's like, yeah, this isn't going to work. I don't like this. and then you sort of hash it out and realize, oh no, you're right, this is better. And so I think it's just having that communication and talking through it. Storyboards.
Yeah, so
If you want-
storyboards, you storyboard
Yeah,
stalled.
so I storyboard after the script always. I mean, sometimes if it's really dependent on the location, I storyboarded stalled and then the location changed and I re-storyboarded it because we did have to change up some of the blocking.
And you're just doing that simple storyboards yourself. You're not hiring a storyboard artist because you know what you want, so you're mapping it out yourself.
Yeah, I'm just doing it myself. I can get by just with drawing okay for like the sake of storyboards. So I'll do rough boards to figure it out. Like there's a lot of brainstorming with storyboards for me, so I'll just do little thumbnails. I'll be like, oh, we could try this. And I'm like, oh, we could try this. So I'll do thumbnails before I do like a solid storyboard that I'm going to show somebody else so they can understand what it is. But once I have thumbnails that I'm like, okay, this sequence works, then I'll draw more detailed storyboards that I am showing to Kyle or someone else to try and give them a sense of the shot.
And if you're bad at drawing, you can also just do a really detailed shot list, like I did, and then you have a phone. And me, for instance, me and Daniel, our DP, basically when we were like doing rehearsals and we were on set, we just took my super detailed shot list and sort of did, photo boards with like an iPhone. That's also an option that obviously is painting a picture just like the storyboards are, just a little bit later in the game. But you've got your shot list built out, so.
I was also going to say really quick, Ron Howard said something I heard several years ago where he said he wants every set and every film he works on that he wants to create an environment where every crew member feels like they can say something and have a creative input, right? But they don't have the expectation that he's always gonna accept that, right? Because he knows as a director, there's a certain sense that he has to trust his gut, right? He is the captain of the ship, he's leading it forward, but he never wants to be dictatorial in it where it's only my way or the highway, right? It's a collaborative effort. We're all trying to, make a great film. So he wants to create an environment where anyone can feel open and, feel like, okay, I can say something. Hey, what about this? And he can have that discussion, but they don't think like, oh, well, he never listens to me, because they at least feel if he does say no, okay, well, I know this is a safe space to still throw out an idea. So I've always thought that was really helpful.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Are these 3 questions or 3 more 2-part questions? That would make it 6 questions. Just one question?
I guess we'll find out.
Okay, good.
I like your shirt.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. So my question is from the beginning of when you guys started writing your screenplay to the end when you finished the edit, just how different are the two? And then a little more in the weeds question, so maybe a little 2-parter. For the 70s style film, I was wondering if you all did the style look of it on post, or if that was done in camera. And for Stalled, I want to know why you chose the specific colors you did for the actual bathroom setting.
It's technically 3 questions.
Yeah, well,
We'll get we'll,
one
we'll
point
speed
five
round.
point five. Yeah.
Yeah, we can go quick.
Okay, you
Sorry,
want to
what
start?
was the first question?
What was the difference between when you started your screenplay at the beginning and to the final edit? How different are the
totally
two?
different. I mean, we do drafts and drafts of screenplays. Your first draft, well, I've never done a first draft of a screenplay. So,
You're talking about like shooting script to post,
Yeah.
finish, like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
sorry. The exact same.
Oh, really?
Yeah, pretty much. For Stalled.
Because it had to be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like our shooting script is, well, I mean, yeah,
There's
pretty much. I mean, I don't know that we even, yeah.
Very slight edits, nothing like changing story.
Yeah, you can't really cut anything out of it, you know what I mean? Because you sort of need all of the beats for it to make sense. So.
For ours, it changed slightly just based on location and the end. The car wasn't actually going to break down at the end, or the little steering is sticky, joke. It was the original script. He starts the car, and then he is about to run over Julio or Terry, but the steering is sticky, and it like veers off and hits a wall. But the location did not let us do that, or the schedule. So I was like, I'm just going to write this out of the script, like a day before we shot, which it still works. But that was really the only big thing that changed.
Well, then I would say from what we shot, shooting script to final edit, it did change in the sense of there are certain things that we common feedback we were getting of like, hey, it's starting to kind of drag here, or hey, this joke doesn't really feel like it's working, and multiple people kind of said that thing, and so there's some pacing and things like that we kind of tightened up so that, and cut, a couple lines here and there, but yeah.
Yeah, just the sort of cutting it as much as we can, making it flow as quickly as possible.
I've forgotten what the other questions are.
The visuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 70s style look, it's sort of half in camera, half in post, because it was very important for us to sort of have that look that, reminds you of these, 70s classics and
Did you do
exploitation
the zooms with a zoom lens, like a snap zoom?
Yeah, we had
or-
like a
yeah.
zoom lens and then a bunch of primes that were a little bit more modern. We wanted it to feel 70s with the look, and then we just cranked that up with grain and the color treatment and all that stuff. And then
with Stalled, I just wanted it to feel very industrial, very sort of like aggressively, green is just a really gross color for like human skin, and just wanting it to feel like a nasty bathroom. And then the purple sort of bug trappers just add contrast to that. Green.
Complementary.
Huh?
Complementary.
Yeah. Complementary colors.
Great.
All right, thanks.
Thank
guys.
you. All right, 2 more single questions.
Howdy, gentlemen. I love both these films. I worked a little bit on both of them, but I want to say that something about directing is, I believe it's like shepherding tone and pacing through a film. And you start with your scripts, and you've got a great idea about that. Then you get a production, and it's chaos. Or, like with I Bet You Wonder How I Got Here. You've got this 360 shot, and that was like the final shot of the day, and it feels like it's shot almost chronologically. Like it has the pace and the tone and everything like that. But there's always this chaos in the production, and then you've got your edit, where you're trying to finish it out and shepherd that tone and that pace throughout the film. And my question is, what is something that you have realized in the production of these projects or others that has helped you as directors to understand how to coalesce those ideas of like, how do you properly shepherd tone and pacing from the script to the screen?
That's a great question. Got a lot of time to think of that in that line.
Yeah, I thought I got better.
And no one in line today asked what your favorite color was.
Yes, an improvement over the Deacon's Q&A, for sure. That's a great question. I think, tone is so important, and I think I definitely have learned over the years, I'm sure Matt has as well, you can never spend enough time as you're developing your project, sort of developing sort of like a visual Bible and have all this inspiration that you can show your crew and show, especially like DP, production designer, composer, and really having seeing the movie in your head before you shoot it, and it's the Michael Scott thing where I'm just saying words and I don't know what to go. But it's really important because throughout the entire process, your crew is going to look to you for things, and they want to have confidence in their director that they know the kind of movie they want to make. And I think it's so important in just making your crew feel excited about what they're working on. If there's a very clear vision and there's something for them to get excited about and bring to. And so, I don't know where I'm going with this, but
Matt can continue then.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm still learning how to do it. Honestly, like it's a really amorphous thing to me a little bit, and it's part of I'll probably keep learning how to do it. But yeah, I mean, it's just what Ryan said. Having a very clear vision. To me, it's having a very clear vision, but then at the same time not holding that too closely because you do want other people to make it better. But just sort of having a true north. There's a thing in your head that when you got excited enough to try to do it, that you're like, no, this is what's getting me excited about this project. And for me, it's always just coming back to that one thing and using that as like a true north. And
even in what we're working on now, like we're developing a project and we go through and talk about, shot ideas and things like that. And I'll be like, hey, I think we need to do it here. We're going to quick push in on the character. And then there's just like a silence and it's like, I don't think that's the movie. And then we talk about it a little bit and you're like, you're right. This isn't the movie. Because we have a clear sort of vision and the kind of movie this is going to be, and just something you can point back to. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fun of it. That's the artistry of it, is like finding those things for every project, you know? And so it's, yeah, I don't know. I think you just sort of always try to get better at it, and I don't know how to do it, you know? You just give
Thank
it,
you.
give it a
All
shot.
right. All right, last question of the night.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hi there. I just wanted to say, sorry, I heavily enjoyed both of these two shorts. It was first time seeing Stalled, brilliant, and it was actually my second time watching I Bet You're Wondering. And I actually just finished writing my first proof of concept short script, and I had to kind of like figuratively think small when it comes to the type of story that I was wanting to tell, because it's hard for me to think small because I always think big. So I guess the question I'm trying to ask, mainly because all the other people in front of me stole all my questions, but luckily answered them for me. But what is the process that you guys use when it comes to writing a short or a feature, or just any type of script in general?
Is there a particular process you use? So, like, for example, do they have like a template, like I want this to happen at page 1, so, I briefly said Save the Cat earlier, and everybody knows that, you can literally have like these things happen at these milestones at these page numbers. Have you developed anything like that in a short film format, or do you just kind of have a sense for story, a sense for 3-act structure, and you work your way through and kind of go back and refine? Is that,
Yeah,
yes?
sorry, one last little detail. Also, as far as giving enough time and development for the characters in that format, as well as pacing, or does the type of story that you want to tell play into or affect pacing?
I think for me, it always starts with a short film at a strong concept. So I usually work backwards from concept to character. So for Stalled, for instance, it was the sort of condensed time travel thing.
It's the same with our short.
Yeah.
4 cops undercover.
But then I think the trick is figuring out how to set that concept off with an interesting character. So for somebody that's got to interact with themselves, what's like the most interesting person that could do that? Somebody that's just a total asshole, right? Because then you get the fun of watching them just be an asshole to themselves, And it's like the rest of it sort of writes itself. So I feel like, for shorts, it's always concept to me, because I personally just want to feel like I have a strong concept to get people's attention. But then I think you can always think, okay, what is that concept, and what's sort of the most interesting character that could be experiencing that, and how could that change that character? You know what I mean? And if you can figure out those 3 things, then you've probably got a good short.
Yeah, and I'd say too, like, shorts are great too because they don't have to be like multiple locations and we're following this character through this big journey. It could just be something crazy that happens in 5 minutes, and that could be an amazing short. So there's also a bit of like finding that concept, finding that great character, and the story could just be a moment or a few moments over the course of 5 to 10 minutes, as long as you're sort of telling an interesting story and capturing an audience's attention for a short amount of time.
And so for Matt, it was the 3 C's: concept, character, and change. Have those 3 things happen within your short, and you're not trying to write 100 pages, so you don't have to get too crazy with it.
No, and it doesn't. I mean, both these shorts are kind of like high concept. It's like it really could just be like a character going to get their mail or something. But it's like, again, it's like you have to tell me why, why that's intriguing. If it's intriguing to you, it should be intriguing to me, right? Like if you care enough about it to make a short film about it, there's a reason why you care about a guy going to get his mail, right? So it's like your job is just to make me care about that in the way that you care about it. And so, it doesn't have to be like a huge thing, I don't think, either.
Well, I was just going to say, I think there's also, too, depending on your filmmaking journey, it's also, I think, okay to set certain expectations for yourself to know, like, okay, what is realistic? And knowing that, okay, maybe right now I'm going to do something, yes, a little more simplified. Here's the story, here's a character, here's what I want to explore. And then do that, and then you build on that, right? And then that's how, again, doing short films, there's 3 or 4 of us doing something very simple, and then we did that, and it was like, okay, that was great, and then the next time we're bringing in a few more people and trying something a little more ambitious, and then, we did Pizza Time, and we're like, this is extremely ambitious, and then did that, and I was like, okay, we were able to accomplish that, and so we felt more, courage, I guess you could say, that, okay, we can accomplish, trying to execute something like Adventure Wondering How I Got Here, and kind of building on that, too, so I think it's okay, too, to know kind of what's in my limits and set expectations.
Yeah, and,
for
and what do you
yourself,
what do you
too.
have access to? If you have access to a VW Bug and a bathroom, what can you shoot with those two things? Or
There you go.
Crossover.
Was a
Cinematic universe. I like it.
So,
Yeah, I mean-
like, or you have a family that owns a pizza shop or whatever, then, yeah, okay, you're going to shoot after hours in the pizza shop or whatever. Figure out what you have something that you have access to that's not going to cost you a ton of money, that you can come up with a cool concept and write something around that. Or you just happen to have, like, a classic car or some cool prop or something that then you can come up with that concept. But you don't have to spend a ton of money if you know what you already have, or you have an uncle that owns something or has something or whatever it might be.
Yeah, that's a huge consideration for shorts. I feel like just
Totally.
what you have. I mean, I've written several shorts that are just around something that I have access to. I sat on the stalled script for 5 years because I had written it, and I was like, I really like the script. I think it'd be a great short film. I can't pull it off right now. I don't know how to pull it off, and I just didn't for 5 years until finally I was like, I think I can do it now. So it's even different. I mean, if you're a writer director, you may write a short that's amazing that you just can't do right now. You know what I mean? And I think it's okay to say, I think this short is incredible. I wish people could see it, but I'm just not at a point to do it. And to, you just got to focus on what you can do,
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. I'm good.
Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, it does.
All right, well, thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. Round of applause
Thanks, everybody.
for our
Thank you so much.
filmmakers here. And thank you
Shout out,
again to
uncles.
the Texas Theater, Ashton and Baraki, as always, for supporting everything that we're doing here with the Dallas Film Commission. And so next week, Julio Cedillo will be here, and we're going to talk about being an actor.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Thank
come
you.
see Julio.
Thank you.